Thank you. If you take a look at the screen, you'll see that Staying the Course is the title of our presentation today. And although I have the honor of presenting our program to you today, really it's been the result of all of the Pleasants County staff that are sitting in this room today. I tell you what, we have a dedicated group of staff people who have supported expanded school mental health and have made it work. And although I'm presenting, they deserve so much credit for staying the course. And that is the title of our presentation. I'd like to thank Mrs. Kim Care for helping me with my PowerPoint today. I am not a tech person. She is awesome. So she made our presentation look so wonderful today. When thinking about the theme for the presentation, Staying the Course came to mind because we related our journey in expanded school mental health to a cross-country course. Why? Because that's what it's been like. We've had mountains to climb and valleys to go through and waters to go through. I mean, we've had our ups and downs on our journey. And yes, we have stayed the course. So I think that is what I would like for you to take today, that although it may not be a straight and easy course, the course is well worth it. And in Pleasants County, we realize that because we know that the biggest benefactors of our work are our students. And when you come from a small community, we are very family-based. We love our kids. We want them to have the best education possible. We want them to come to the classroom ready to learn, but we also want to take care of all of their mental health needs. And we want to make sure that we're preparing them for a healthy life as they leave our school system. So, and we will, if I leave out any important details, stop me because this is like second nature. We've been doing this for so long. So please ask questions along the way if you have any questions. On the screen are all of the reasons why Pleasants County Schools chose and has stayed the course in making this happen. We know and we studied all of these factors in making the decision to implement expanded school mental health services in Pleasants County. We know that our work impacts all of those items listed on the screen. So those are what drive the work that we do in Pleasants County. And we stay focused on those items every year as we come together and set goals for the current school year. We take a look at our data and we analyze where we are and where we want to go, and then we make goals that are relative to where our weak areas are and what we really want to improve that school year. This is us, Pleasants County. We are a very small district. We are located on the Ohio River. We have a small enrollment. In fact, it's been decreasing every year, unfortunately, but right now we're at 1,050 students. And we are a rural area that prior to expanded school mental health services in our schools, our families had to drive to Parkersburg, Clarksburg, other areas to receive counseling services and to receive any kind of medical services for mental health issues. So being able to bring those services right here in our schools and making it a welcome site for these services to take place has been critical. That has just been such a gift to our community. So being small sometimes limits the amount of services that you have, but for us, we have grown those services because now Westbrook actually has an office in our town. I mean, that is a blessing. So our families have access to services all day, every day. So that's a wonderful thing that has grown from our expanded school mental health services, having those services right here in town. And we do have doctor services in town as well. So. And the journey begins. And you heard a little bit about how long we've been dabbling in implementing expanded school mental health services, and this is true. We started because we had a need. We knew that we had kiddos that had mental health needs that needed services. So we started early, just providing 2 days a week, and our program has grown from there. But listed, one of the first things we did when we received our first expanded school mental health grant was establish a steering team. And these are the members that participated in our initial steering team. And as you can see, we had people from our community on the team, DHHR, Juvenile Probation, the Committee on Family Issues, our PERC, Director of Boys and Girls Club. We had a Board of Education member, parents, students, the whole gamut was covered. So that was who we brought to the table initially to make this happen. Okay, here are our first steps. As you can see, let me just get, the lighting is kind of vague. As you can see, we really tried to look at every aspect of our school system in order to make this work. So the first step was identifying our stakeholders. Who did we want to bring to the table to make this work? What discussions did we need to have with our community members to identify needs for our students and for identifying resources that are out there and available for our kids that we weren't aware of and needed to know about. The second step was strategic planning, and I'll get to that here in a minute. We also did staff training. We wanted our staff to be well aware of what we were doing and how we were doing it. And the other thing under staff training that we did was we took the time to educate them on red flags for mental health issues. We did trainings about students who might be experiencing depression. We did suicide awareness. We just covered the gamut of mental health issues so our students could better identify those kids in their classes and make good referrals. The 3-tiered model is what we chose to implement, and I'll get to that as well in a minute. We made a plan for our referral process. How were we going to identify students and how were we going to link them to the services that they need? We took time to make sure that our community was involved in this process, and then quality assessment and improvement. Yes.
How would you say that you this process, which I love, is the needs assessment? Did you conduct that in
Yes, and I'm gonna discuss that next. Okay. Okay, so our expanded school mental health committee, we were a mighty group and we had numerous people at the table. And the one thing I have to tell you is we started every meeting on time and we ended every meeting on time. We were very respectful of the players that we needed to be there, and we worked while we were there. We did involve school personnel, and taking them out of their schools during the day was a little sketchy, but we made it work by making it happen. Our time slot was 1:30 to 2:30 because that was after lunch and before dismissal. So that way we could get our people there and back in their buildings to supervise dismissal. At our meetings, the very first thing we did was we looked at our data and we defined our common terms that we needed to know. That's when we did our needs assessment. And in terms of needs assessment, we still do needs assessments, especially even with our staff. We try to survey them as to what needs they have, because in PleasantsCounty, our services have grown. They don't just impact our kids now, but our staff as well. So we've done, and Kendra is here from Westbrook Health Services. She partnered with me to provide staff support groups where we got together with our staff and offered sessions on dealing with grief, different topics that impact them and impact the job that they do in the classroom. So kudos and thank you to you for that. But we did meet monthly with a set agenda. And one of the things that we did was and this is critical, if you want to make this work in your district, this is the one piece that has to this day still impacted me and made such a difference in the commitment of our group. And that was at every meeting, we allowed our agencies, our community partners to be on our agenda. Each meeting had a different presenter, and they were able to share from their perspective the job that they do and just some of the circumstances that surround the decisions that we make. And that was critical because as a school system, I'll use an example of DHHR. It's easy to be critical when you don't know. And oftentimes we, had our little heads up because we would call DHHR and make a CPS report. And our expectation was for them to, drop everything and be right there, right then. And we didn't understand because we're waiting for, them to enter our buildings, why they weren't responding when we wanted them to respond. So by taking the time to listen and to learn what constituted an immediate response on their part and what constituted a 48-hour response was unbelievably key. We formed relationships with these agencies by listening and sharing. They listened to us and we listened to them, and we understood better the jobs that they did and how they could support our kids. So that was a really critical piece that made all the difference, because tearing down those silos was also important in bonding our team and kind of growing together. But that united our steering team, I believe, in the very beginning. And to this day, we have really good working relationships with all of our community partners. I mean, I'm looking at Danielle Stanley, who's over juvenile probation. I can call her anytime. I can, call and ask for something for our kids. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. She's right there. And Debbie Thompson, who is the chair of our committee on family issues, I can call her. She calls me and says, listen, I've learned of a new resource available for the kids. I mean, that is everything. The more you know, the more power you have for gaining resources and accessing services for our kids. So partnering with our communities, partnering with those agencies that are out there that have valuable resources for our kids is critical. And along the way, trust and respect was gained for the work of our group. We showed up every month. We showed up during the summer for summer trainings. We showed up to train our staff. We worked together as a team, and we learned how valuable our work was beginning to be. So one of the great things that we did also is we documented our journey. We have a notebook with all of our agendas and kind of what we covered at each of those early meetings. And it's actually rewarding to go back and look and watch what we accomplished. But just, documenting that journey, and I believe what gets written gets done. And, our goals were written, and then we, looked at the work that we did in each week or each month at our committee meetings. One of the last things we ended with was, what are we doing well? And what else can we do to improve the delivery of services to our kids? So that was really key in our meetings. Another thing that we were able to do was presentations on expanded school mental health services, educating our parents, educating our community, speaking at our opening of schools meetings. Westbrook was just on board with that, and they were present, giving out information at our opening school fairs. Anytime we have anything in our community, they are very present and engaging to the community, letting them know that they are here and ready to serve. So that's also what you have to do, is heavily advertise what you're doing. Here's our roadmap, and I think that looks familiar to everyone. It is in alignment with our academic tiers, and this is what we utilized when we did our strategic planning. We looked at each of those tiers and then formulated goals around the tiers. our core or universal tier. One of the first things that we did in Pleasants County, we, we were implementing PBS at that time is what it was titled in our schools, but we had had a lot of turnover of staff and we had new administrators. So at that time, in the very beginning, we retrained our entire staff, including administrators, so that we could all get on the same page. We knew how important that was. And PBIS is what we chose to implement for our core universal prevention program and still are utilizing that today. So that was our main Tier 1 universal prevention program in Pleasants County. And I think it was Francie Clark who was the initial person who came and trained everybody in Pleasants County. So we appreciate that. But every year we continue to grow and learn on in each of our schools about how we can improve our delivery of PBIS. So the high school does some really neat things for their kids that maybe you can hear about a little later. But that is our Tier 1. The other things listed are other programs that we implement to also support all of our students. Tier 1 is something that, just keep in mind, touches every student in our school. So. Tier 2 is our targeted, and this is small group, targeted groups of students who have a specific need. And I'll use, for example, maybe anger management. We have a group of students who could benefit from anger management services. And we do utilize small group therapy for that. We have an identification process. Students can volunteer or sign themselves up, but we provide small group therapy for these kiddos and allow them to participate and learn skills and strategies to improve in that area. And they also hear from their peers how they're learning and growing and what they do that makes a difference. So Tier 2, we do a lot of small groups, but these are the other programs that we implement. And all of those are Tier 2 because they impact small groups of students. They are not something that we do for every student. The last item listed under alternative education program, I just wanted to share Danielle Stanley with juvenile probation and Westbrook Health Services, Peggy Wegman at the time, they got together and planned for services for our kiddos who were in alternative ed. And this was a large group of kids that were involved in this because they weren't just alternative ed kids, but maybe kids who were involved in the court system. And this speakers bureau, and what was the exact title you called it?
Real Talks.
Real Talks, REAL Talks. And I thought this was brilliant. They did a presentation monthly here at the high school for these kids. And each month they had a community member who had a special offering to give to our kids, something unique. And they would present to our kids and talk with them and mentor them on improving their behavior and staying on a positive course. Danielle, I'm trying to think, our judge here in town presented. He talked with our kids. Mrs. Kerr presented on how life is dealing with a learning disability and what it looks like. We also had the judge's son present on music and how it can be therapeutic and how it can be an outlet for you as a child dealing with stressors. Yeah, we did some presentations on grief. We did so many empowering presentations that, not just the kids, but adults would benefit from it as well. But I think that's a testament to the commitment of our community, that they were willing to take the time and come and present to our kids and work with them and talk with them and mentor them. So I thought that was a blessing. And, these goals for what we're doing come from our meetings and come from the data that were presented. We knew we had a large group of kids that were impacted by alternative ed or by the court system, and we knew that we wanted to rehabilitate them in any way that we could because we believed in them. We know we have great kids, and we know they're capable of making really great decisions. So that was something that we did that I'm very proud of that. Is there a trick to this, Gary? And more steps. Our tier 3, which is our intensive, and that is our top tier where we provide individual services to those students who require more than what we can provide as a school system or as a school counselor. We know they need a little more intensive attention and therapy. So that is the top of our pyramid. And we do have a lot of students that benefit from this support. A lot of people always ask, how have you built your tier 3 services, and how have you torn down those silos or stigma associated to mental health? And I'll give you a clue how we did that, because we believe in counseling and therapy in this county. When I was going through my school psychology program, one of my professors told me that the greatest gift that you can ever give anybody is therapy. Because that therapist has one job, that is to listen to you and to help improve the quality of your life. Wow. I mean, who could ask for anything else? And it's confidential. And so we are big supporters of therapy and counseling in Pleasants County. And we know that this is one of the best gifts that we can offer our kids. I mean, when we have a referral for tier 3 services, one of the best things that we do to make it a comfortable situation is our school personnel. Whomever is making that referral, it may be myself as the school psychologist, or it may be one of our guidance counselors. We roll out the red carpet to our families. We invite them into our school, and we take part in those referrals. We sit down at the table with them and talk about how their student can benefit, and we make it as comfortable and inviting as possible. And that's been our goal all along. We want it to be inviting, and we want it to be positive, because we know that we can help that student grow and help them achieve their personal goals of doing better in the classroom and having better relationships in their life. So that is one of the things that we did and still do, is take part in those referrals and listen to our families and talk with them and value what our partner is able to provide our students, because Westbrook has been such a blessing to our school system and to our children. Our kids are so blessed to have these services in our county, and we take advantage of it. We make lots of referrals. We keep them busy. Oops. Well, as you can see, this is a little finicky. Let me get back to where we are. I apologize. Okay, so here we go. Oh, somebody else is, okay, Gary's helping me. I need all the help I can get. All right, in the beginning, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but yeah, we started in the beginning in 2010, and we had 57 students who received services, and we currently have approximately 80 that are receiving services through Westbrook. Our students range in age from 3 to 21, and referrals are made on a variety of mental health issues. One of the other positives that happen is it is very difficult to get an appointment with a psychiatrist, a child psychiatrist. So one of the great things Westbrook does for our system is they play favorites, and they get our kids in so quickly. I mean, it's amazing. And we're able to call them, and they are able to link our families to services just as quickly as they possibly can. And once again, how wonderful is that? I mean, that's a true partnership. So our students are well taken care of in Pleasants County. The other thing,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just have to brag on you guys. goals of implement expanded school mental health, implement those tiers with fidelity, is the goal is to decrease the number of students that need tier 3 students or tier 3 services because you're implementing tier 1 and tier 2 so effectively. And while it does look like a jump, but you're looking at 12 years.
I
And
know.
you started out with 57 students and you're at 80 today.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Considering.
And that's countywide. That's from
So that's
age 3,
awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
all the way to
That
21.
right there tells me how wonderful.
Well, thank you. And that's, some of our 3-year-olds, I mean, so yeah, that's our entire county. But one of the other big perks that we have with expanded school mental health is the fact that when we have a student in crisis, a student who may be expressing suicidal ideation, or just really suffering from depression, we have a crisis intervention person from Westbrook that is dedicated to PleasantsCounty schools, and that's what she does. And all we have to do is pick up the phone and call, and they come immediately. Our kids who are in crisis and who are rock bottom don't have to wait 2 weeks for support services. They don't have to wait 1 week for support services. They are seen that day. And that is and has been probably the biggest breath of fresh air in my career, because I worry about our kids. I mean, we're all committed in this county. We know our families, we know our kids. And when we have a kid who's struggling and who, we are fearful might hurt themselves, I mean, that's a heavy weight to carry. So, that lessens our load and allows us not to burn out and to be able to continue to come to work every day and do the work that we do, because we want our kids taken care of. We're very selfish in Pleasants County. We want our kids to have the services that they need. So those crisis services have just been the biggest blessing. It has made my job so much easier to do, because when I listen, to our kids and their stories, I mean, it's heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, and I want them to get the help that they need. So those crisis services are part of our expanded school mental health project. So keep that in mind too, if you're thinking about that. I mean, really, I don't know that happens anywhere else. But here in Pleasants County, because we have such a partnership with Westbrook Health Services, and they knew that was a big, issue with us, and that's what we wanted, they have made it happen. So Nancy Creighton is here with Westbrook, and I can call her at any time and tell her what we need or what we want, and she is willing to work for us. So, and she gets it done. So that's part of it. Investing in the journey. And this is what a lot of people want to know. How have you been able to sustain it? Well, first of all, we have sustained it because we believe in it. We have reaped the benefits of what expanded school mental health has done for our school system, what it's done for our students. And we see how they have benefited. And, part of making it work is being invested. I mean, we are fully there. We totally have reaped the benefit, and we know that this is something that we want to continue to happen in Pleasants County. So regardless of funding from any other source, our county has made the financial commitment to partner with Westbrook to continue these services. And my husband, Mr. Wells, and our Director of Federal Programs, Mrs. Care, and our Chief Business Officer, they make it happen. They figure it out. And why? Because they too believe in what we're doing. And they know that by investing in the whole child, our academic outcomes are going to be greater. So we are so fortunate that we've been able to match funding and grow our expanded school mental health services every year. Does anybody have any questions about that?
But just on that fourth or that final bullet,
Uh-huh.
explain what that
Okay,
for all
so
of us.
students who are referred for tier 3 services, I do need to talk on this. We do, or Westbrook Health Services does bill private insurances, medical cards, for payment of those services. And, that's part of what helps them stay viable and be able to continue to work in our district. But I can't say enough about the fact that we also have full funding money where if we have a student who has an insurance that's not billable, or if we have a student who doesn't have the ability to financially, participate in counseling, we have funding available through our school system. So no student is ever denied tier 3 intensive services based on their ability or inability, I should say, to pay. So all of our kids, we turn away no one. We make it work, we make it happen for all of our families. And once again, that's because of our true partnership with Westbrook Health Services and their commitment to making sure Pleasants County students receive the best services possible. So I think that's important to note as well. No student ever goes without services in Pleasants County schools because of money. Hurdling obstacles. Yes, you heard me say that we are kind of on a cross-country journey in Pleasants County, and we have had obstacles to overcome. And the first one at the top is COVID and closures. Believe it or not, we were able to sustain our tier 3 services during COVID. Westbrook Health Services stayed the course, and they reached out to our kids and continued to provide counseling via phone conferences, Zoom team meetings, whatever they had to do to make sure that their needs were being met. So we were able to persevere during COVID. Yes, we've had an increase in mental health concerns, but like I said, referrals are made. Teachers are on it, watching and observing in the classroom those students who appear to have needs that we need to address. Parents, that's another issue I wanted to discuss. Tearing down the silos has happened, I believe, in Pleasants County because this is how I know this has happened. When I get a call from a parent who says, my student didn't get to see their therapist last week. Where in the world are they? And are you going to make sure that they get to be seen this week? I mean, we get complaints about our kids who have to miss a session or they don't get seen on 1 week. So, I mean, they are asking and requesting these services and demanding them. I mean, they're assertive. They want to know where was their therapist. So I think that's a compliment to our work as well. Our families, they are very comfortable and very grateful and thankful for the support that we are providing their students. And oftentimes, guys, the services then grow to not just the student, but to their whole family. And once again, that's why Westbrook, being in our community now, being downtown, they can go and access services for themselves as well. So those services kind of grow. Staff turnover, whoo, that's been a big one. And I have had to be really patient, as well as everyone else in this room, with staff turnover. But we all join in, we all fill in, we all, make it work until we get somebody to fill those positions. And that's just like, it happens in our school system and it happens in our mental health agency. So we have to just stay the course, stay focused on what we want to happen and what we want to accomplish. And there's enough of us that we fill those gaps and we wait and we're patient and it all comes together. So yes, we've had staff turnover as much as anybody else, but because we're so dedicated, it all works out. We all fill in and work together until we get those positions filled. Sometimes I think I work for Westbrook too, because I'm one of their biggest job recruiters. I'm always out there going, hey, you like to come to Pleasants County and work for Westbrook? So yeah, I recruit too, because it's that important. And we've talked about the funding and sustainability. Okay, investing in the journey. And this is just a refresher of what we've done. Pleasants County Schools has matched funding and provided, sorry, get this one, Gary. Go backwards. Oh, Gary's helping me now, so I don't have control. Hold on. There we go, next steps. Okay, these are some of the goals that we have currently. Let me just say, in terms of analyzing data, last year, and I believe it was the year before that, sorry, the year before that, when our expanded school mental health team came together, one of the things that we recognized was that we wanted to work on school connectedness. We wanted to make sure that every student who walks through the door in the morning is greeted and has a safe place to go where they feel welcome, and maybe even just a little time to calm down and get themselves together before they start their day. We recognize in Pleasants County that everybody comes to us from different situations. So we wanted to make sure that when our schools open, that they were warm and inviting, and that we had a plan for those kids who needed a minute, who just needed to take a breath. And so Mrs. Care worked with our business office, and we were able to hire a student support person who served our county and mainly our high school. And a couple of the big pieces that they tackled were mornings, where we knew that that was a critical time where students were anxious about coming, and lunchtime, because I know many of you hear horror stories about kids eating in the bathrooms, in bathroom stalls, and that bothers me. That was something that I, wanted to make sure that we didn't have happening. And so lunchtime was another time that our student support person was connecting with kids and linking them to, if we needed to offer lunchtime in our library or another space where they could go and be comfortable, walked around, talked with our kids, connected with them, made them, we've even provided snacks for kids who have issues with the food that we provide at lunch, that maybe, don't eat those foods. They are very picky eaters. So, I even have snacks in my office, for some of my special kids that need those. But we want to take care of their basic needs. We want to take care of making sure that they knew school was their home away from home. We wanted it to be their safe place and the place where they could really feel connected. And so that's one of the goals that we worked on. And now we actually have 2 student support positions in our county because it was so successful initially. Now we have another person that's serving in that same role and connecting with our kids. These people also reach out to our families and identify needs that they have, whether it be clothing, food, home items for families who have lost their homes due to fires, et cetera, or housing issues where families have been evicted. Where can we find them another place to live? All of those issues these people are taking care of and helping with. So, and working very closely with our school counselors on mental health issues. So that was something that came from our work as well. We do want to become more active in our community venues. Our Boys and Girls Club, over the years, we have provided services. For those of you who are old school might remember banana splits. They provided those services for families at our Boys and Girls Club and services. During the summer, they provide support services for students who are attending the Boys and Girls Club, but we want to stay active with our community partners. We've, offered early birds at school and all of those things that we can do to help our families stay strong and help our families be supported as they're struggling during all of the difficult times. So we also want to continue to conduct staff support group and counseling because we know that our staff comes to work every day with their own baggage, with their own, set of issues that could impact their performance in the classroom. So we want to stay vigilant of being able to recognize what they need, and they're able to approach us at any time with a request for services and a request for even training. And then we want to continue to evaluate, reassess, and look at our data and figure out what we need to do next to continue to improve and to stay on the course, stay moving forward. I can't say enough about the fact that in Pleasants County, we feel like we have been blessed by expanded school mental health services. And, we're lucky. We really are. We're one of the lucky districts. But we have all, as a team, been committed to making this work. And I think if you're in another district or you're looking at how to make this work, you've got to have those champions that believe in this process enough to stay the course. And that's what we have done in Pleasants County. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring what we do. At this time, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to allow everyone to get more refreshments, and we're going to get our panelists assembled for discussion questions. We'll go ahead and begin with our panel discussion. The first item I'd like to begin with is I'd like for each of our panel members to introduce themselves and tell the job that they do that relates to our expanded school mental health program.
Hi, I'm Nancy Creighton. I'm the Director of Youth Services at Westbrook Health Services. I actually formerly provided counseling services at St. Mary's Elementary School as part of our ESMH programming. I oversee our grants that focus on youth, including the ESMH grant, the Regional Youth Services grant, and I oversee our Prevention Lead Organization Program Director. All of those grants we utilize to serve the students at Pleasants County Schools. I'm Kim Kerr. I'm the Director of Special Programs here in Pleasants County. And as Helen has alluded to multiple times, we are quite small. So when I say Director of Special Programs, I do special ed, pre-K, Title IX, alternative ed, special ed, SAT 504, and Helen's biggest cheerleader. So I work very closely with the Expanded School Mental Health Project because of all the roles, but also because I started here October 25th, 2010. Very year this project was coming to fruition. So I've been here working through this, and we've all, if we didn't have the mindset that Mrs. Wells has, we got it very quickly. We saw the value, and as you all probably heard, it's that passion that brought us all along. As Mr. Wells said, when Wells was saying how superintendent and the director of special programs supported this program, he looked at me and said, "We have a choice." And I never did.
Hi, my name is Mandy Moat, and I am the Social Service Attendance and Child Nutrition Director here for Pleasants County. I am also our Handle with Care Coordinator. So obviously in my position, I work closely with our children who are in the system and those who have been exposed to different types of trauma. So I actually was first invited to be a part of the extended school-based mental health as a teacher, and my son was one of the student representatives. And so I very much enjoyed being a part of it, both as a teacher, a parent, and as a professional.
I'm Danielle Stanley. I'm the Juvenile Probation Officer for Ritchie and Pleasants County. Although my job would indicate that I'm more of a reactive part, I am very passionate about being proactive with our juveniles, especially the ones where they get into, I'm trying to keep them from coming to the court system. So I like to work directly with the schools. Westbrook, we have a really good relationship, and that's kind of where the idea of Real Talks came from. Was we have a need, we want to figure out how to make it work and make it happen, regardless of how that comes about. But I work directly with all these people, and if I need to figure out a way to help kids, I will.
Okay, hi, I'm Lori Barnhart. I'm the principal of St. Mary's High School. I get to see this great program in action every day. Our students have access to our Westbrook counselors 24/7. They feel very close to those people, and I feel really great about this because our students feel safe. I can make referrals at any time, and it's a great process the way that we're able to work together, and it certainly benefits our students every day. So we're very blessed to have this.
My name is Debbie Thompson. I have the privilege of serving as the FRN director for Pleasants County. We're also known as Pleasants County. I was at one time a board member in Pleasants County, school board member, and a president as serving in a state position, and children became such a blessing to me. And I feel like, since this has all started, it's been so important that we work together in collaboration. That's key. Just before there's a couple other things I'd like to say, but I just do want to say that we owe so much to Helen. And I feel responsible for Helen being here. I tell this to everybody, so I hope you'll bear with me if you've heard it before. But when I was serving as president of the board, her father was our superintendent at the time. And he said he couldn't consider hiring her as our school psychologist because it would look like there was some word nepotism. And so I said, well, in looking over all the criteria and everything, she was by far the top choice. So we discussed it and among the board members and the superintendent, and we hired her. And I think it was one of the best things that ever happened to this system is Helen. And I also was responsible for hiring Mike as the principal at the middle school. So, good things have come out of my being on the board. So. But I see my role on the steering committee, which I'm so proud to be part of this. When you hear all of you heard this morning how blessed we are with this grant, I see myself as a resource connector because I have the opportunity to learn of the various state and community programs, and I think it's critical that we get the community involved in our school system. And I think since this has started, we have built our image up. The school's image is so much better than it was previously. It's always been a great school system, don't get me wrong, because Pleasants County, we always say, is a very pleasant place to live. But I just help identify resources and services from the community that can be utilized here at the school. And like Helen said, it's a new program. I just called her last week and I said, oh, we've got a new program coming. You've got to be at the FRN meeting or attend the FRN meeting and learn all about it. And, I've been able to do various things throughout the community, like with resource fairs, back to school fairs, and sponsor town halls on various issues that maybe the schools are, having issues with. We do all kinds of like Red Ribbon Week, and it's just been great to be part of the whole experience.
Good morning again. I'm Mike Wells, superintendent of the schools. I would just like to add one of the things that I'm charged with as superintendent. I would encourage you to look at our test scores, our attendance rate, our sustainability with our staff, other than retirements, all the data that I'm in our county is judged on, I think is a direct relation to this program, because realized early on, if we don't get our kids to school, and when we get them here, if we don't have them here, right state of mind, then it's hard to teach them. It's hard for them to learn. And so that's been, again, I think if you look at that, it's a direct reflection, if you look at the data, to our program and the services that we provide to our kids. Because I told somebody, this is not easy. It's a lot of work, but what is not hard work? And obviously, I think we're receiving the benefits of that, not just with our kids and staff, but as they keep talking about our families. A piece that I don't know that people may be even connected sitting in this room today is one of the last pieces that we just introduced this year is Deputy Reed that's in the back. And I worked diligently for the last 3 years, not because we have a lot of crime in St. Mary's, not because we have a lot of fights. If you look at our data from PBIS and looking at those items, but to be proactive rather than reactive, and putting our money and our resources up front, because he's had the ability, stationed at the high school for the most part, but also goes to the middle school and elementaries as well. Building those relationships with not just our staff, but certainly with our students. He goes in and talks to the kids and teaches classes. So that's the newest piece. And it took me some convincing with our county commission to partner with us on that. Got a new sheriff, and so it kind of fell into place and had support of my so again, I felt like that was something that we really didn't touch on, that's an important part of this.
Hello, my name is Laura Reinert, and I'm a school counselor here at St. Mary's High School. I serve class of 2025 and class of 2023, which is freshmen and juniors. I work along with Mrs. Travers, and we have been together for about 10 years here at the high school together. So I have the microphone, so I'm going to sing our praises right now. So in the earlier slides, you saw a couple programs we do here. So I wanted to touch on them because, as I tell my students regularly, you don't get this at every high school. So Mrs. Travers says Too Good for Drugs. She goes into the health classroom and presents that program. She is our lead with our STARS group. And if you're not familiar with STARS, it is a student-targeted group that does community service projects. And if you read research and data, teaching resiliency, it also comes through teaching community service. So they have done such wonderful things as Easter baskets to needy families in our community, partnered with Elks. They help the Humane Society and has done an amazing job. So I would not be here if I didn't have an amazing co-counselor, and I believe every high school, regardless of the size, needs more than one school counselor. We have many schools around us that have one school counselor and desperately need another school counselor. In addition to being the school counselor, I also have a Leo Club group that right now is currently a group of freshmen, majority girls, but I have a couple boys that come, and they are getting ready to do a community service project on Monday where every resident of our 2 nursing homes is going to receive a flower and a little stuffed animal and a personalized card for Valentine's Day. Once again, it's the resiliency. It's teaching them to give back, and then selfishly, as the reason why Teddy Northrup is here right now, I try to teach all my students to be budding social workers. Because prior to being here at St. Mary's High School, I worked for Westbrook Health Services. I worked for a number of years in substance abuse, and that was my first love. Anyone that works in substance abuse knows you either love it or hate it. I absolutely loved it, and I think any person before they work at a high school needs to have some experience in substance abuse. So I left the Parkersburg office, came to the St. Mary's office, and was actually our school-based mental health therapist until it was a God thing. They went through like 4 school counselors at the high school, like in a row. And finally, Mrs. Wells convinced me to go back to school. Fun fact, if you have a master's in social work, you have to go back to school and get a separate master's in counseling. Not sure why that is, but it's okay. And I joined as a school counselor, and I actually beyond privileged and blessed to work with my students. We have small groups. Mrs. Travers runs a small group twice a week. We also do social emotional. I do mine on Tuesdays and she has hers on Friday. My juniors and freshmen will tell you it's my mini TED Talk every week. And so they play along with me as I make them do some different things. And we just do so much here at St. Mary's High School. I cannot say enough what we provide the students. As you get the tour, you'll be able to see some of the things that we do that to some seem silly to put a picture in a trophy case, but to that person with that picture, it means more to them and it can really change their life. And so not only working with Westbrook, and I'm blessed to have Judy Nutter and Amber and Mariah and everyone, poor Shamata, she probably is okay because I don't have to call her as much now, but sometimes I call it a panic and they always come and they always are okay, no matter how hysterical I am about something.
That's the thing about this whole panel. We call, they all
Yeah,
come.
they
So
come.
It's awesome.
Sometimes they have to talk me down and say it's okay, but I cannot say enough about our community.
Show up.
Yes, and they show up, and the wraparound services and the things we're able to provide to students all come together. We have an amazing early college program that we partner with West Virginia University of Parkersburg. They provide scholarships to our students so everyone can, take college classes. Richie has been able to do that while he's been in high school, and it's just that whole holistic approach of meeting all of the students' need and leaving them better than when they started at St. Mary's High School. So hopefully this will all continue with the positivity, but I will have to comment and then I'll hand the mic over. Probably since 2020, since COVID, it has been challenging and there has been struggles. And I will be the first to tell you that on this end of it, it has been a struggle, but we are still trying. And we are still trying to show our students that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm beyond excited because I know there's going to be a new group of former graduates from St. Mary's High School that are going to fill in a lot of these roles. And so hopefully you guys can take some of this stuff back to your counties. But the biggest thing that I can say is make sure the people that you're surrounding yourself with are positive. And like Mr. Wells and Pear said, you have to have somebody like Mrs. Wells that will not take no for an answer and that will continue to push you as a person because, when you deal with mental health and you deal with students, it is hard and it is hard on your heart. So you have to have people like Mrs. Wells that keep shit kind of going and making sure you continue with what you start.
My name is Lillian. I am a junior at St. Mary's High School. And I just want to say that Westbrook Health Services has been a huge, huge thing for our school and for all the surrounding schools. I don't know where I would be without them. I don't know where I would be without my counselors, without my teachers. They are a huge role in who I am as a person today. They are continuously there. They always are putting their best foot forward to make sure everybody has somebody. I'm just very, very grateful. And I've been interacting with Westbrook Services for about 5 years now, doing therapy, counseling. And throughout those 5 years, when I started, I was very I don't like what to do. But over time, they've taught me the mechanisms I needed and what I needed to be a role model and a leader in this.
And thank you so much. She was a last minute fill-in for another student, and gosh, did I pick a good one. Thank you so much.
I am Richie Spencer. I am a senior here at St. Mary's High School, and pretty much to go off what Lily said, I've been involved with Westbrook for about 2 years now, and without Westbrook, my life would be completely different. If you knew me 2 years ago, I was a completely different person. Westbrook has definitely changed my life for the better, and the counselors here at the school, they are the ones that got me connected with Westbrook, and it's been a very positive impact on my life. Sure.
I have a few that Tiffany submitted beforehand, but we'll go ahead and take some questions from the audience. Connie?
I have to,
Okay. You want the mic?
no, can y'all hear me? My voice projects.
Yes.
I'm loud. To you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Terry. So powerful. And after you're all recognized, I want to hear as to, and I'm going to pose one of these questions. I wonder if this program has been through St. Mary's and the partnership with West and the Utah. So proud of you guys. That's their CEO, by the way. If you could, what do you think might be beneficial to add, or what might be lacking that you want to see added as services for years? Not just in expanded schools, but across mental health behavior. Just go for it. You're not going to hurt my feelings or anybody else's feelings. Just, I just kind of want to, what would you like to see?
Fine. You have a bunch of people willing to be there. So many individuals willing to talk you through tough times, talk you through all of the ups and downs. But students don't really see you guys as a united. They see an individual, and some of them, they just don't understand that you're there. They don't understand that you be there for them no matter what, no matter the mistakes, no matter. And I have a bunch of leaders, and personally in my class, that would benefit from having this conversation. Be open to talk.
If I were to add something to it, it would be there needs to be less of a stigma for men to reach out for help. I know, me growing up, I was always taught to just try to be strong, and that's how my dad told me. And at first I was incredibly embarrassed to reach out, and I know personally, one of my best friends, I tell him all the time that he would benefit from counseling a lot, but he, just like me, was brought up to be kind of sheltered, hide your emotions, and I think there just needs to be, I don't know, like break down the barrier, show that it's okay for y'all.
You're a wonderful voice. Yeah, you're a wonderful male role model. But not being afraid to speak that help. And my husband is going through a different is enrolled. It's the same thing. Basically, talk to someone about what I'm. But he's since seen the, how we've raised our men.
Elaborate on what Lily was saying, because we've had this conversation. I think the big thing is being able for the students to identify the helpers and identify who people are and have accessibility to them. Anybody that has suffered from social anxiety knows going through the lunch line causes you anxiety, and that's why people eat in the bathroom, and I completely can understand that. So I think one of the things that Mrs. Travers and myself have really tried here at the high school level, and I know Mrs. Carpenter and Mrs. Love, I have a 4th grade student, and Tyler is a very well-rounded, very awesome kiddo, but he knows Mrs. Love, and he knows who she is, and he knows what she does for him. And I have a freshman, which been an interesting transition for us, but when he was at the middle school, Mrs. Carpenter was his person, and so Not everybody has a social worker mom that tells them it's okay to talk to someone, but I think the biggest thing is students know who we are. They know who Amber is. They know who Mariah is. They know, especially Mrs. Nutter, and they know that in a second, from anything from our heat was turned off, can you find us a space heater? This is my favorite story of me and Mrs. Nutter, is we literally had a student tell us at like 10:05, heat was turned off, we need some space heaters or some type of, and I think by like 10:15, we had like 5. So, but students know, and I think just being present, being in the classroom, having classroom presentations, from everything from our special ed population to, our, college bound, everybody needs someone. And so I think the thing I can say much, and it not from a book, not a presentation that someone reads, but a person that's going to be there. They're going to do a presentation on Monday, and if you need them, you're going to be able to see them on Tuesday. I think that's something that a lot of the students talk about. And Amber would kill me if I didn't have the opportunity to say this. We need inpatient services for our students. And this year, it's been hard, and we have shed tears, and we have said bad words, and we have yelled. But we've had several instances where we've had students that have needed care, inpatient, suicidal, needed more than what we could provide, and we sat on the phone and we called and we called and we called with no luck. And we do the best that we can, but I think that's one of the biggest things in not only the state of West Virginia, but elsewhere is, once they call out for help and they need more help, we need places to be able to provide that help. And we are blessed to have Western Health Services, but not every place has, but we definitely are lacking that. But I think being present, I graduated from WVU in 2004 with my bachelor's in social work, and I was told every school in the state of West Virginia will have a school social worker. Just waiting. But I think having as many people present and constant to be able to listen and talk, I think is the most important.
Other questions for the panel? Yes.
I'm just aware of a program that I haven't heard much about in a long time, but it comes to mind listening to this, which is the Natural Helpers Program. Have you ever had that? Do you know what it is? If you don't, look into it. It's high school students who are identified and trained to be listeners for other students. And of course, they are trained to pass along to appropriate people as needed, but it gives you that in the lunch line listener.
But since then, I haven't heard about it so much.
I think it still exists nationally. We used to have it. We don't anymore. You got to work it. You got to stay the course.
It still exists. Still out there, yeah.
Any other questions for the panel? Yes, Alicia?
So as a school psychologist, I know you're the but what else, how is your elsewhere in this? Strong-armed everyone into it.
Well, honestly,
direct service or how?
honestly, you are in a small district. It's all hands on deck. And, sometimes I wear many different hats in just an effort to support our district. But in terms of expanded school mental health, yes, I am the school psychologist for our district first. I do the psychological evaluation, preschool and developmental evaluation. I attend that meetings, I attend all meetings, but because our students are first priority when there's a crisis, and I'm needed, I'm always provided the access to go and support our kids. They come and my team has always allowed me the opportunity to put expanded school mental health services as a priority, and so I'm able to do. I'll do whatever it takes in our county to make that it can be. So yes, I juggle everything, and sometimes it gets a little stressful. But Kim, who's our director of special education, very supportive work, and she fills in for me when I need to be somewhere else, and just a team effort. thing about what we accomplished in the entire team happened. Yeah, I still.
And I'd like to add to that, I think, I can't say enough about the small. That's, everyone here now. But also because of the small, are immense involved families. Has become, so people, if they don't know where to turn, he knows where to guide them. So even though he hasn't done a lot of therapy or the things that thing, everyone in the community, and that's in every. So it marries very well with that. She's out there, especially for attending that meeting. Those kind of marries very well with that. Been doing this. We've been doing it. I myself. I have this. My child. I think that's a really huge piece of it, and everyone needs to know. There's so much. Someone has that space that city have to know they can be the one that fighting what I need. Get it. That's all of this. As you're building programs, may not recognize although I might be recognize that person that will make sure that's really, and it does very well.
Yes.
I don't have a question. I actually have a comment. School lunch was mentioned as a time, and with Lily and with Richie, it is hard sometimes for students to come to us for help, but at lunch, I'm always at the lunch line, but also as Officer Reed floating around, and students are learning that they can go to Officer Reed, and I think that helps a little bit with the stigma for guys having Officer Reed there, and you have Miss Van Zyl, which is the special ed coordinator. So the way the high school has worked with lunch duty, you have key people floating around lunch. But it really, I agree with the students. Sometimes students come to me when they need something. But it helps because, well, Natalie told me you could do this, or Tara told me you would help me with this. So that student being able to help spread the word that it's okay to let us help them is a key element that I think we could polish.
I want to say something else about that position. Embodies. Now Sarah, unbelievable folks we have. Did not post. We certainly support our students. So to hire a full-time position. That's the goal, but not creative. What we needed. Not what title did we? What? one of them have social work, but they had qualities in caring. Family already. You posted. Like we provide academic and for us to inform extra duty. It's encouraging. But we needed it that was better than a social. Finding the right person. But not easily. How we. What advice would you give? What tips or advice they wanted to implement this and I'm asking for. Who really wants to do this? And we get calls from principals all the time. How do I get this? And having somebody who is from a political background or social background talk to a principal like apples and oranges. Yeah. So if you were going to say to another, here are the two things you need to do, would you say it? There's going to be an overall data to back up. Hey, this is how it is. Oh, PDIS data. That's another. The other thing I wanted to add is that we're working to we have to have a very inviting atmosphere at your school because our team is under the mindset that it takes a village to raise a child and that we're all in this together and that ultimately our kiddos are going to graduate. So we have to all work together. So we feel like whatever resources are out there for our kids, and the more help we can provide them, the better. And the better it makes the quality of education that we can provide and that they receive. So, but sometimes I think education people are so narrow-minded and focused on, I do this, that they forget that, what, we've got to open our doors, open our hearts, and have some help in dealing with these tough issues that face our kids today. And, that's what's happened here in Westbrook. We're very honest. I mean, we don't know how we would function now without their support. Our selfish. And I think that.
To elaborate a little bit on your question you had for Mrs. Barnhart, I want to put my colleagues and fellow superintendents, I guess, on the spot, but, ultimately, this whole thing has to have support from the top down, and including my central office. As they've alluded to, we've had turnovers in counselors, we've had turnovers in administrators, but to get everybody to be a part of the process, get them as part of the team and get them on board and understanding what our priorities are. Then that filters down to the teachers, that filters down to the staff, and then students and families. So I think, you have to stay on top of it. Again, I said a while ago, it's hard work. It is. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of time. There's things that we've done that obviously we've adjusted over the last decade that worked well, that we wanted to make better. And silly as little things seem, as a principal, if I don't invite Kendra into my school and make her feel important in what she's doing and meeting with our kids, they may not have a designated space, but we try to give them a respectful space when they're meeting with our kids. So it's those little things along that way and along that process that I think is really important. And you can talk the talk, but people figure out really quickly if you truly believe in what you're doing.
Okay. I think we need everyone. That's the big. And down to bus drivers, everyone. Yeah, Kendra and I, we go face to face with everybody yearly to talk about what we do and what we have in place. And I can remember there was an occasion where I was out of town and there was an after school, a bus driver needed assistance. Our transportation director, Kendra, and guess what? That student got help right then and there. So regardless of the time, but I mean, that's what you call collaboration and teamwork. I mean, just because one person, falls off the team or isn't available, all step up.
I want to make a comment. I'm talking historical data here, but since under Nancy's leadership, the system works well, and we've got staff, and it's a phenomenal process. But I remember the day when we were losing therapists, and it was like I went up and was the therapist for the elementary school, and I said, I'm a placeholder. I mean, this is not my forte, but I'll do the best I can. But the thing that anybody that's wanting to start this, I want you to hear me. We've been involved in other counties, and you've got to understand the struggle that mental health has in keeping staff and that sort of thing. You guys never gave up on us. Other counties gave up on us because we were struggling with staffing issues. And so I think that's a key too. Don't just give up because somebody's not able to provide something, the premier, services that you want, because you're looking at the long haul. But that is a big part of it too. You guys, us.
I
I just want another comment. You were talking about developing an inviting environment starts the minute they walk off the bus. And the minute they walk off the bus, I can tell you if I need to get Officer Reed on something or I need Amber to check on someone.
Yes.
That's very important, not only to greet them, but you can tell the way they get off the bus. And Miss Van Zels, my partner out front, will say, we need to get on this one.
Yes.
We need to check on the student today.
Yes.
In the next few minutes, someone has to be in contact. And I think that's very important to make sure, not that I'm going to do it, but I'm going to look at someone on the team and say, we need to check on this.
Every morning, that's who's out there. They know when they get off that bus.
On one day, I didn't show up, and I had students concerned I was in the hospital. So, no matter what I have planned, I better show up first thing, or they'll be calling the emergency squad.
Any other questions from the panel? And you'll have an opportunity to talk with these people when we conclude. We are going to take a tour, so stay with us. Tiffany? Any questions?
No, I just want to say thanks and
Well, as you can see, as you listen to everybody in the audience and on the panel, I mean, it truly is a team effort in Pleasants County. And I wanted to share with you guys that we are not experts on implementing health services. We're simply a small district, a state. We have reaped the benefit, and we know that ultimately our students, their families are the factors of it. So we truly don't want to come across as being experts or knowing, the only way to do something. You have to find your own way, and you have to, like Henry said, persevere and make it happen. But we are always open to any district that would like to, secure a program and provide these services for our kids. We are always here to help anyone. And I want to say something to who is new at West Virginia about school psychologists and let you know that we really have a lot of gifts in our toolbox and can do lots of things. And that when school psychologists are put in a box and seen just as testers, it's kind of where they stay. So as you encourage school psychologists across the state, encourage them to step up and to show other gifts that they can offer schools. It doesn't only lead to job security, but it leads to things like this, great things that can happen for our kids. And that's one of the things I just wanted to touch on as a school psychologist. So much more they can really need out of their comfort zone of testing and offer those trainings. They can do all kinds of things. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for coming in. Thanks for being interested in what we do in Pleasants County. And yeah, we are proud of what we do because we have truly persevered and are thrilled with where we are today. So the tour is going to.
If I could, before we conclude and leave, I just want to say a few things about the building in itself. I was privileged enough to be the superintendent at the time that we built this, and so I'm a little biased, but I'm really proud about our facility. I think as you go throughout the building, what you need to realize is we've talked about our mental health and expanded school-based mental health, but we had a lot of input from our staff and our community when we built this building. And so that's what I'm proud of, because actually if you look at the front architecture, the facade, the community wanted to represent and pay respect to the old high school. So if you saw the old high school, had a lot of the same architecture and structures. We took time touring other schools. So I just tell you that because I have a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears in this building, and I'm very proud of it, but I think you'll see the end result was, it wasn't my vision, it was our community's vision. So, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, and please help yourself to refreshments. Again, the tours will begin in just a few minutes. Mrs. Barnhart and Mrs. Reinert and Mrs. Travers are going to lead you. And we'll be here answering questions for those who still have things they'd like to discuss. So thank you for coming.